The story starts with the main character of the story, who is Christine Brown, who, along with being an ordinary woman, is also a senior loan manager at a bank. One day, an old woman, whose appearance was strange and frightening, comes to meet Christine. During the conversation, she explains that she failed to repay her loan, so the bank is about to seize her house. She begs Christine to give her a little more time. At first, Christine wanted to stay away from the matter, but seeing the old woman's condition, her heart melts. She immediately goes to her manager and requests him to help the old woman, but the manager flatly refuses without a second thought. He says the loan deadline has already been extended twice, and every time the old woman deceived them. Defeated, Christine refuses the old woman, but the old woman was not someone who would give up easily. Setting aside her pride, she falls to her knees in front of Christine and starts begging. Christine couldn't do anything as she was following orders from above. She only tries to explain the situation to the old woman. But the next moment, the old woman suddenly changes her tone and expression and starts threatening Christine. "If you don't save my home, I will teach you a lesson you will never forget." Christine gets scared, but calls security and has the old woman thrown out. Christine thinks the matter ends there. But in the evening, when she leaves the office, an old flying handkerchief falls onto the roof of her car. Its movements were strange. When Christine looks closely, she sees the handkerchief floating in the air. At that moment, she notices a shadow in the back seat of her car. She steps out of the car in fear. But just then, someone grabs her from behind. It's the same old woman. Christine panics and starts struggling with her. Somehow, she manages to push the woman out of the car and locks the door. Christine takes a sigh of relief. But the very next moment, the woman appears in front of her again. This time, she doesn't say anything. She just drags Christine out of the car and yanks an old button from her wrist. After that, the woman starts chanting in some strange language, and Christine's eyes slowly begin to close. She feels completely disoriented and eventually loses consciousness. When Christine wakes up, she finds herself alone, and the woman is nowhere to be seen. But Christine can sense that something is terribly wrong. She immediately goes to her boyfriend Dalton, who never believed in such things from the beginning. Together they go to Jason, a man who can sense spirits. The moment Jason holds Christine's hand, his eyes deepen, and strange things start happening in the room. Closed books begin to open on their own. Cracks appear on the pictures hanging on the walls. Jassam's face turns serious. His expression grows more intense by the second. Taking a deep breath, Jassam tells Christine, "Someone has done powerful black magic on you. A very strong spirit has made you its target." Hearing this, Christine's face turns pale. Only one name keeps echoing in her mind: the old woman who had come to her at the bank asking for help. At first, Christine never thought it was anything serious. But in the evening, while she was cooking dinner in the kitchen, suddenly she heard the sound of the door from outside. A little nervous, Christine walked towards the door and saw that the gate was left open. She sighed in relief, but at that very moment, a strange rustling sound came, as if someone was watching her from behind. Christine quickly came inside and started closing all the windows. Suddenly, the utensils kept in the kitchen began falling on their own, as if someone had deliberately thrown them down. Suppressing her fear, she closed all the windows and ran to the room where she picked up a torch, but even that turned out to be faulty. Just then, a terrifying black shadow started appearing on the wall, and slowly it transformed into a horrifying figure. A dreadful demonic entity lunged toward Christine. At the very next moment, all the lights turned back on, and at the same time, Dalton, Christine's boyfriend, arrived there. Dalton immediately tried to call the police, but Christine stopped him. She still wasn't sure whether that old woman was responsible for this or if it was something else. She wanted to say everything, but no words came out of her mouth. The next day, Christine reached her office. But as she was making a call, suddenly, blood started dripping from her nose. Her boss pointed it out, and right then, the tomato sauce bottle placed on the table in front of her burst, spilling all the sauce onto her dress. All the employees in the office started staring at her. Embarrassed, she walked out of there. Later, she found the address of that old woman and went straight to her house. But upon reaching there, she found out that the woman had died a few days ago. Christine now understood that she had to find the solution herself. She went to Jess again. Jess focused and provided new information. This was not an ordinary spirit, but a demonic entity. In the beginning, it appears in different forms to weaken the victim's mental state, and once the mind becomes fragile, the entity pulls the soul away. Jas also explained that such curses are often delivered through some medium, an object taken from your body and then returned after performing black magic on it. Christine immediately remembered the old button. Jas said, "We need to perform a ritual to stop this, but it's a bit difficult and terrifying. It requires a sacrifice, the life of a living being like a cat or a dog, and this sacrifice must be offered when the spirit appears in front of you." Christine felt terrible about this, but she remembered the ritual. Before leaving, Jas handed her an old book containing the complete method. Christine returned home. When she looked at her beloved cat, her heart sank. Just then, she heard footsteps behind her. Christine understood. It was here. The next moment, a strange, shadowy creature, like an animal, appeared. Filled with fear, Christine ran straight toward the stairs, and the dark shadow followed closely behind. She reached the room upstairs and tried to call Dalton with her phone. But Dalton was at the office and couldn't answer the call. Before anything else could happen, the phone's battery died and it switched off. While she was still thinking, a terrifying hand started creeping in through the crack of the door. Luckily, Christine quickly moved back. She thought of jumping out the window to escape, but the demon wasn't going to let her go that easily. A sharp scream echoed. After everything went quiet, Christine made a harsh decision in her mind. She picked up a fruit-cutting knife and started walking around the house. Amidst the demonic voices, Christine sacrificed her beloved cat. Her heart was heavy and her eyes were filled with tears, but she felt this was her only way out. She buried the cat in the courtyard and somehow composed herself before returning home. Just then, Dalton's voice called out. Before he could understand anything, Christine pretended as if everything was normal. Dalton told her that he wanted to take her to his house for dinner to meet his parents. At first, Christine hesitated, but then she thought the curse was over now, and Dalton seemed excited, so she agreed. Christine got ready nicely and decided to go to Dalton's house with him. Everything was going well in the beginning. There was conversation, laughter, and good food. But as soon as dinner started, Christine heard that terrifying roar again. That's when she realized the curse wasn't over yet. The roar grew so loud that Christine began to lose her mental balance and screamed. Dalton and his parents were completely confused about why Christine was behaving like that. Everyone looked at her strangely. The happy family dinner turned into a horrifying spectacle. Christine went straight to Jas after that. Her anger was clear now. She said, "Now even my cat is gone. Dalton's family thinks I'm insane, and the curse is still there." Dalton took a deep breath and said, "This time, we are fighting a very powerful enemy. But there is still one last solution." He told her that they know a very powerful occultist, Sean Dana, who specializes in fighting such spirits, but his fee is extremely high. Christine agreed without hesitation. But even after putting together all her savings, she only managed to gather half the required amount. She was shattered. Just then, Dalton came to her house. He had learned everything from Jas. Though Dalton still didn't believe in these things, but seeing Christine's condition, he understood how important this was for her. Without wasting any time, Dalton paid the remaining amount. Christine became emotional by his support, but it was not the time for emotions. It was time for action. Both of them, carrying an address note they got from JS, reached an old castle-like house. There they met Dana. Dana said, "Don't be afraid. I have faced this demonic spirit before." She told them that 20 years ago, a couple had come to her with their son. That boy too was trapped under the curse of the same spirit. But by the time they reached, it was already too late. Dana couldn't save him, and now the same demonic Lamia has returned once again. A regret lingered in Dana's heart. She couldn't save that child all those years ago, and now her health wasn't in a condition to participate in such an intense ritual again. Yet to correct her past mistakes, she accepted the responsibility. She took Christine, Dalton, and JS into a special room. That room was filled with energy and was believed to weaken the power of evil spirits. Everyone sat in a meditative posture. Donna asked her assistant to bring a goat and took out a shining sword to begin the ritual. She instructed Christine, "When I connect with the spirit, place my palm on the goat's head. The moment the spirit transfers, the assistant must instantly sacrifice the goat, trapping the spirit inside it." Everything started as planned, and they successfully transferred the spirit into the goat. But just as the assistant was about to kill the goat, the demonic spirit turned back and bit off the assistant's hand. Now that assistant became the new host of the spirit. The assistant, now possessed, charged toward Christine like a raging fire, but Jace intervened and stopped her. He began chanting mantras, but his experience wasn't deep enough and the spirit knocked him to the ground. The demon was now moving directly toward Christine. Just then, Dina regained consciousness and started chanting the mantras loudly. The moment the spirit heard the chants, its face began to distort, and with a painful groan, it exited the assistant's body. Everything became quiet. The assistant regained consciousness, and Christine felt that maybe everything was finally over. She went to hug Dina, but saw her lying unconscious on the ground, and moments later, Dina took her last breath. Dina had tried her best until her final moment, but the spirit had only been driven away, not destroyed. Jace now told Christine the last remaining solution: give the button, which started this curse, to someone else. The moment it passes to another person, the curse will leave you. But there was a dark truth hidden in this method. The person to whom the object is given, their soul will never find peace. That is why Jace had not mentioned this earlier. Christine felt deep in thought. After bidding farewell to Dalton, she sat at a coffee shop. She had made up her mind to give the button to a stranger, but her heart wasn't agreeing. Just then, her eyes fell on a newspaper placed on the table. It contained the news of the death of the old man from whom all of this had begun. Suddenly, an idea struck her. What if she gave the button to a dead person? Could that end the curse? Christine ran to Jace. He searched for the answer in ancient texts and finally confirmed that this method could work. Without wasting time, Christine got in her car and drove toward the cemetery. Darkness covered the sky. Thunder and rain began, as if nature itself could feel her pain. She reached the old man's grave and started removing the soil with the shovel in her hand. Without stopping, without fear, she placed the button straight into the old man's mouth. "It's over now," she said, closing her eyes. The next morning, with the first rays of the sun, Christine's life changed. She received a message from her boss. "Congratulations, you've got a promotion and a salary increment." And on the same day, Dalton handed Christine a ring, an engagement ring. It seemed the curse had finally lifted from Christine's life, or maybe it had only paused for a while. But now everything has changed. Christine had become more confident, happier, and fearless. Finally, she and Dalton were ready to start a new life together, without fear, without shadows. Christine, a girl who was the most innocent, yet went through the most terrifying phase of her life because of a stranger's selfish obsession. But this darkness awakened the courage within her. Instead of giving up, she faced everything. Every turn, every horrifying night. Not only did she succeed in saving herself, but she also never lost her morality, humanity, or inner strength. She was like a flame burning in the darkness, a flame that didn't die out in the storm, but shone even brighter. The path she chose was never easy, but her determination freed her from every bond, and now she is living the life she always wanted. With this, the story ends here. Let me know your thoughts in the comments section. Also, subscribe to this channel for more horror stories like this.